Welcome to another episode number 7 of Mental Health Mondays. I am so excited for our special guest today. And if you haven't watched Mental Health Mondays, what we do here is we talk to experts in the field of mental health, someone who experiences or lives with a mental health challenge or mental health advocates. So today, my special guest is Suzanne Sibilla. She just told me. Hopefully, I said that right. And I'm going to bring her up now. So let me add her into the stream. So thank you so much,
Hey,
Suzanne, for being here.
great to be here, Kelly. Thanks so much for having me here.
Awesome. Well, let me know, what exactly do you do, or let our viewers know, what exactly do you do?
Yeah, so I'm a life and business strategist. I also have a license as a marriage family therapist. So I work with individuals and organizations to help them to shift their perspective, if you will, and also to pivot in this transition and this changing world so that they can be productive, motivated, empowered. And I also recently wrote a book. It's called Pivot You: 6 Powerful Steps to Thriving in Uncertain Times. And so right now I have a lot of clients actually that have been dealing with a lot of anxiety, frustration, and depression, a lot with the pandemic that's been going on 2 years now.
Yeah, there's so much need out there for that, especially now. What are some of the things that really have come up over the last couple of years, that like maybe trends that you've noticed?
Yeah, so I'm seeing actually the age group of late 20s to early or late 30s actually needing a lot of help in terms of coping skills. And we've actually seen a rise in suicidality in the age group of 12, 13-year-olds to 22, 24-year-olds, which is very alarming and very upsetting. And what I'm seeing with a lot of the clients that I work with is that they're just feeling lonely, they're feeling isolated. You know, the whole thing about having to wear masks, having the 6 feet distance, everything going on with COVID. There's just been an alarming rate of, like I said, depression and anxiety. And so that's what I'm dealing with right now, is helping my clients to cope effectively.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that you pointed out. So at least in Colorado, suicide is actually the first leading cause of death for ages 10 to 14 now. I mean, it was the second
Mm.
leading for years and years and years, but now it's shifted to the first leading over car accidents. That was
Hmm.
usually the first leading thing. So it's definitely something that all generations are feeling. It's not just the older population or just the younger populations, it's everybody in between. So how specifically do you help? I mean, do you go into businesses? Are you like private type practice, or?
Yeah, so I do both actually. I have individuals that I work with on a one-to-one basis, and then I also go into organizations, specifically healthcare and high-tech type organizations. And so I do a course which called Pivot You Thriving, and I focus on really the mindset, because a lot of what happens is a thought process that goes on. And if you see that, and if you can examine your thoughts, a lot of times we go through millions of thoughts throughout our life and throughout the day. And a lot of those thoughts are really negative. So it's really looking at how you can shift your thoughts, shift your perspective, and see the situation differently. So that's what I focus my clients on, is really looking at their thought process, because a lot of times, again, it's the thoughts that focus on, again, the emotions, and then the emotions cause the actions, which cause the results. So if you want different results in your life, you got to look at what your thoughts are behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know in you and I talking, you also use NLP techniques in your business too.
Yes, a lot of NLP techniques, and a lot of what's called cognitive behavioral therapy as well, cognitive behavioral techniques. I also use a lot of relaxation and then also a lot of creative arts type techniques as well. So I'm also a licensed drama therapist. So I use a lot of role play. I use a lot of creative techniques, journaling as well.
Oh, that's super cool because I think
Yeah.
that all different modalities. I was actually talking to somebody earlier that they're a licensed clinician in mental health, but they started incorporating more of like the spirituality aspects. So I love that you add in like the arts and the drama. And I think that can be such an incredible outlet for anyone in general.
Yeah, I think it's really important to look at the whole person. And I find that the creative arts is really, it gets to the root of a lot of the issues, more so than a lot of times the talk, if you will, the talk therapy can.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a huge proponent. My mom was a music teacher for a good chunk of my life. So any of the
Oh, that's
arts and the
great.
music
Uh-huh.
definitely speak to my soul. So, and I know that a lot of people with coping, music is huge for them to be able to have that as an outlet, whether it be in your car or at home or just dancing, moving your body. Those type of things are
Yeah,
important.
definitely, definitely. Music is so therapeutic, definitely. And a lot of times, like I said, I use role play as well. A lot of times when people have different conflicts with, in terms of their career, with maybe bosses or employees, or conflicts with their spouse or in relationships, I tend to use a lot of role play techniques as well.
Very cool. So if you're
Yeah.
going, I mean, coming from I have a corporate background, so kind of thinking in the corporate space, how do you get employees or leaders? It just seems like a challenge to me to really get them to actively try to incorporate some of these things in the business. So what specifically do you do to get them out of that corporate mindset into actually making a change?
Well, I think right now it's actually a lot easier, if you will, to enter into the corporate world because so many organizations are dealing with this right now. They're into, hybrid work. They've been having their employees work remotely. They're seeing a lack, if you will, or a loss of productivity. So that is, again, one way that I've entered into the organizations is to increase their level of productivity there, because again, mental health is so important. And they can see that it's the whole person, that they need to really look at their employees in terms of the whole person. Their mental health is really important. So that's how I've been able to get into these organizations, is really showing the results of a lot of the programs that I provide.
That's awesome. I mean, I think it's needed across the board, obviously, both
Definitely.
on a one-to-one level and in the businesses, but I think especially in the businesses and understanding that we're all in the same boat. There's not just one person that's over here struggling. Like a lot of people at this moment are really, really struggling with their mental health or just wellness in general. And like you talked about, I mean, coming out of COVID, we're really not conditioned to be isolated as a human. And so how do we start building in these coping skills? So I think that's really great that you're bringing that more to the forefront too.
Yeah, definitely. And as you said, I mean, as a human being, we're needing connection. We need connection with other humans. We don't want to be isolated. And I think that's what, where I see, again, a lot of my clients, they're feeling so isolated, and they don't know how to deal or how to cope with everything that's been going on. So again, it's really giving them healthy coping techniques.
Yeah. What is so if somebody is out there that is like, I don't even know how or what to do or who to talk to or any of that, are there any like just off the top of your head tips that you can give them?
Yeah, I use this one technique. I have several techniques, but I use this one technique that a lot of my clients really like, and it's a 1, 2, 3 type of technique. So the first step is stop. So when you find yourself thinking these thoughts, and a lot of times those, again, you get millions of thoughts during the day. And a lot of times those thoughts can be very negative thoughts, like, oh, I don't feel good, or I feel like I'm an imposter, or I feel like, does anyone love me? Does anyone like me? So it could be a lot of these negative thoughts going through your mind. So when you start to notice that, because again, the first step is awareness and noticing those thoughts. So when you notice that, tell yourself stop. So it's stop. And then you take a nice deep breath in. We could do this here. You take a nice deep breath in, inhaling through your nose. Mm-hmm. Hold it for a count of 3. 1, 2, 3, and then slowly exhale. And in noticing that, you'll notice you'll start to feel more grounded, and it'll start to make you feel calmer. So you do that breathing, and then you do a reframe. You think differently, like, how can you look at this situation differently? So is there a positive way you can look at this as a different way of looking at your situation? So again, it's stop, breathe, and reframe. Mm-hmm. And that technique has really helped a lot of my clients.
I love that. And I know, I mean, since I also do NLP, I'm familiar with the reframe, and I have had several people say, well, it's not as easy as you talk about, Kelli. And so we have to also have acknowledgement that, hey, we understand, like, if you really truly are struggling, it can be really, really hard to shift from that negative into the positive space. But really, it maybe takes like one thing, like how you said, that did calm me down, and I felt more grounded just by breathing. So that could even be the reframe potentially.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I do a lot of breathing techniques with my clients. So we do a lot where it's inhaling again through your nose, holding it for a count of 3, and then slowly exhale. Mm-hmm. And again, it's a real calming technique. It's a real grounding technique as well. Another technique to use is really focusing on, a lot of times when I have clients that are really anxious, and they may be anxious again about the outside world, right? So we cannot control what's going on in the outside and the external world. However, we can control what's going on in our internal world. We can control our thoughts, and we can control our emotions. A lot of times people think, oh, well, I just feel this way. I feel sad. I feel upset. I feel angry. And it's okay to feel that way. I'm saying it's okay to feel that way. And you can also shift the way that you feel as well. Because a lot of times when people feel sad or upset or depressed, they're unmotivated, let's say, to do anything. They just want to stay in that state, if you will. So what you can do if you're feeling like that is to shift, what we call shift your state. And that is like, you could turn on music, for example. That will shift your state right away. If you listen to some upbeat music, or if you do some kind of an activity, for example, if you walk around the room, if you do something, like a cardio type of thing where you're jumping up and down just to get into a different state of mind, if you will, that will help a lot. And then again, the breathing really helps a lot, because again, it helps you to stay calm, and it keeps you centered.
Yeah, I love, I like whenever state change, I talk a lot about that too. And I am one of those type of people, though, that I will just get up and have a dance party for no reason, right?
Yeah, me too. I do the same. Woo! Love it. Yeah.
But
then I do the same thing.
There's times that I'm like, man, like I've had those moments too of like nothing's going my way. Like everything, I will literally just sit at my desk and be pissed off pretty much, because and at those moments I don't think about that dance party. I'm like so in my brain that it's hard for me to even get motivated to change where it's at. So also understanding that it's easy to say, but once you're aware of it, like you talked about, first and foremost, it's all about awareness. Like once you're aware and you know that it's possible to do these things, it at least gives you a little bit more choice, whether you just sit at your desk or you get up and do a dance party. So
Exactly. And I always recommend too, because I think a lot of times people are feeling isolated. And I think connection is so important, especially now. And so if you're not able to connect with people face to face because of COVID, you could still connect. And I do this 10-minute talk out, if you will. I call it a 10-minute talk out. And so what you can do is you can call a real supportive friend, or if you have a supportive family member, call them and say, okay, we're going to talk this out for 10 minutes. You could set a timer if you want for 10 minutes. You talk to them, vent to them for 10 minutes, and then allow them to vent to you for 10 minutes. It really helps because now you're feeling connected with another person that is really supportive of you, and you get the connection from the other person as well. You're able to help the other person. And I think that's a lot of it too, is that when you feel like you're helping another person, you're starting to feel better about your life and your situation as well. You don't feel so alone.
yeah, and I mean that it does naturally, I mean your brain chemicals will start to release like the endorphins and the serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually literally making you happy being able to help other people. And I love that you said, I mean, with technology today, FaceTime, you could go FaceTime somebody or
Exactly.
call up a friend, be on Zoom. I know we're all zoomed out. I get it. But
Yeah.
but it helps. And I love like these connections. I have loved doing Mental Health Mondays because I'm able to connect with other people that are like-minded and understand. So even maybe watching something and then calling up a friend and saying, hey, I watched this thing. Maybe let's talk about it. So
Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, I think the whole thing is to connect. I think that is so important. As we mentioned earlier, as humans, we want that. We want connection with people. And I think that's so important to be able to do that. So
definitely. Especially
yeah.
the introverted. I mean, all of those people that keep saying that they're introverted or they have this
Mhm.
introverted energy, you still like connection. So,
Exactly.
and we need like
Exactly.
physical touch and our chemistry, we need that connection. So, I think it's very important. And I like
Yeah,
that you
you bring up
mentioned that.
another excellent point too. Human connection in terms of a hug, I think is so important as well. Like I make sure that when I wake up in the morning, I give my husband a hug and I give our son a hug as well, because I think that is so important. I think it was said that I think as humans, we need that contact with each other as well. And a hug is amazing. Like when you get a hug from another person, you just feel like, wow, it just feels so good to get that. And I know a lot of times with COVID going on, we have that 6-foot distance and the isolation. And so the hug can be so important because, again, like you're saying, it really gets those endorphins going. It gets those feel good emotions going throughout our body.
And what would you recommend somebody that maybe lives alone or that is living in fear of being around other people? What would be a suggestion or something you could say for those people?
And definitely, I would suggest, contacting a therapist. There are a number of, therapists that are available online. So I would definitely suggest contacting a therapist. Also, if you have, again, a supportive friend that you can contact, and you could either call them, do FaceTime or, like we mentioned, Zoom, and reach out to them. Don't feel so isolated. I think that's the main thing, is you're not alone. So, reach out to someone and get the help that you need. I think that is really, really important. Yeah, really, really important.
Definitely. So what got you into this line of work? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting path. I actually, I grew up. My parents were divorced when I was growing up. I was actually very young when my parents were divorced, and so I didn't know my dad. I actually never met him until 5 years ago. I
Wow.
actually met 10 of my siblings about actually 5 years ago, I met 10 of my half brothers and sisters. And surprisingly enough, they actually live 30 minutes away from where I live. So that's kind of been a really interesting and an unusual thing that's happened. But I've always been interested in how people work and what makes them tick and their psychology, if you will. So I studied psychology and sociology through school. And then I also was into acting and theater. And so I combine those two interests. I combine the theater, the love of acting with the psychology. And so I did that, became a licensed marriage family therapist, did that for over 10 years. And then I wanted to go into doing a different thing, doing a different field. And I wanted to go into corporations. And so I shifted all my training and all my techniques and background into a corporate world. And I started working at a high-tech company. And from there, went in as a trainer. And from there, went all the way up as director of learning and organizational change and learning and development. And from then I worked there for almost 20 years in a company. And then I wanted to do something on my own. So I created my own business, and that's what I do now. So I do life and business strategy. So I've combined, again, my whole interest in that, in the field. But I love working with people that are going through, like I said, depression or anxiety, or really helping them, again, to shift their mindset, I think is, again, so important.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's so interesting how, life flows. I know I have a degree in communications and psychology, and I always thought it was a really great mouse pad forever. Because
Definitely.
I was more in the technology field or bartending or, doing all these things that didn't even require my degree. And then now I've shifted more into something that aligns with it. So it's so interesting how it's like this roller coaster of different opportunities that you get. So I love that you made that shift. And so if people want to work with you specifically or find you, how can they do that?
So you can find me at Sibilla, which is Sibilla, coaching.com. And that's where my website is located as well. And then also you can email me at Suzanne, which is Suzanne, at Sibilla, Sibilla, coaching.com.
Awesome. And I'll throw all those links in the comments below. So if you want to reach out to Suzanne, you can reach out to her and see how she can serve you best. But I so appreciate you coming on. I think that you and I aligned so well. And that's when you had mentioned you want to be on. I was like, yes, let's have this conversation. And I love the techniques that you gave. So if for whatever reason you're starting to watch this now, rewind and go watch the techniques that Suzanne gave us, because there were two really great techniques in there. So thank you so much for joining today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it. And what you're doing is amazing work. Your mission is really amazing, and it'll save a lot of lives. It will. And I really want to say to your community is, if you feel alone and if you feel isolated, there is help out there. There is help out there. We're here to support you, to help you. And there are people that care for you. So I really want to emphasize that as well.
That was an amazing statement to send us off. So thank you so much again for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. That was episode number 7. Hopefully you got those techniques. They were incredible. Again, if you're just watching now, go back, rewind, and watch the techniques. Listen to what Suzanne has to say. Her and I align really, really well, and I'm so blessed that I was able to bring her on. Make sure you like below, give us some comments. Maybe this was useful, maybe it wasn't. That's okay too. Go ahead and leave us a comment. Tell us how we can make this better for you. We've got some incredible guests coming up in the future also. So again, this is Mental Health Mondays. We do this every single Monday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. but we can't do it without the support of our community. So join us and become a warrior for mental health. You can get, I don't know if you can see this, I'll push it down, but you can get this cool shirt if you join today. All you have to donate is $20 or more per month. It's only $20 or more, and you get this super awesome shirt. And it goes to help support all of our education and our programming, and we need your support. So again, I'll drop all of Suzanne's information below so that you can reach out to her if you wanted to work with her one-on-one, or maybe your company needs a little extra help. Or join us or not just but join us for every Mental Health Monday. So again, subscribe, like it, comment it, share, do what you do, and I will see you next Monday. Bye, y'all.